Stage 3 is kind of a long one, so I'm going to do that live because I don't have that pre-recorded video. And if you have any questions during this stage, let me know. Feel free to jump in. In stage 2, at the end of stage 2, your brochure should have looked like this. So you have the outside spread and then the inside spread. And remember that if you're not coming into the print lab, you would need the text variables in the bottom slug area. If you are coming into the print lab, you don't need to do that step or those steps. So here's what it looks like now. We're going to continue from here to go on to stage 3, and it will begin on page 336 in your textbook if you want to follow along for brochure stage 3. The first thing we need here is we need some content. So we need to add our text content, and I'm just going to go to File, Place, and look for the text content that Against the Clock has provided already. So I'm going to go to my Australia folder, and I'm going to look for this brochure copy doc. So this is a Microsoft Word document. And before I place that text, I want to select Show Import Options. And then I've got some things I can customize here. So you want to make sure that you want to select Preserve Styles and Formatting from Text and Tables. And then click on Import Styles Automatically and make sure that Auto Rename is selected, so that if there is something that has the same style name in Microsoft Word as you do in your InDesign file, and it has those conflicts, it's going to automatically rename it a different style rather than get rid of it. So any kind of paragraph or character style conflicts, it's going to automatically rename. Then I'm going to click OK. And then it's going to tell me I'm missing a font, or it may tell you it's missing some fonts, and you can just make a note of that and skip. And now you'll see the text is loaded on the cursor. So before I place the text on here, I want to hold down the Option key on my keyboard. So you already have text frames automatically created in here, but before you place them, if you hold down the Option key on your keyboard, it'll let you reflow it. So I'm holding down the Option key, and I'm going to click on page 4 on the inside spread. And because I'm still holding down the Option key, the text is still loaded on my cursor. So now I can reflow it into the next text frame and then into the third text frame on page 6. And I still have overset text loaded onto my cursor. So I'm going to click onto the pasteboard. And now I can release the Option key once I do that. Oops, what did I do? I accidentally did it twice. So that way, anything that is overflowing or overset is going to flow into this frame that's on the pasteboard. Now what I want to do is I'm going to copy this text or cut this text and paste it onto my outside spread. So I'm going to double click, and there's directions in the text. It says for outside flap. So I know that any text below that is supposed to go on that outside fold-in panel. So I'm going to select all of this text and then do a Command X or Edit Cut. And then I'm going to go to page 1. So if I go to the slug area, remember this tells me this is the outside fold-in panel, then I can switch to my type tool, and now I can paste or do a Command V as in victory is the shortcut to paste that text that I just cut into the outside flap. And I can delete the directions, the for outside flap text. And then I'm going to go back to the inside spread. Then what I want to do is import some styles, some text styles. So go to the paragraph styles. And remember before I've showed you, you can use the options menu to load text styles from another document. So I'm going to select load all text styles. And then I'm going to select another document that has the textiles that I want to use. So I want to select this GE Assets in Design file. And this way you could work on this in your booklet, in your group project, that somebody may have all the styles in their InDesign document. You can load the styles from their document into yours. So I'm going to select this InDesign file and choose Open. And then it's going to give me some options. These are all the text styles that are loaded or created onto that InDesign file that I just selected. So I want to load everything except basic paragraph. And then I'm going to click OK. And now I've just loaded all those paragraph, and it's also added some character styles. So what I want to do now is I'm going to select all of this text here on this inside spread. And then I am going to select one of these styles. And before I do that, I'm going to select the clear overrides button that's next to the trash can here under paragraph styles. And that's just going to clear any overrides, anything that's varying to the paragraph style that I want to select for the text. So I'm going to clear that by clicking on that button. And I'm on page 339, or the bottom of page 339, and now up on the top of page 340. And then I'm going to select sure these are set to the selected style. So this is set to main heading, this is body copy, this is subheading, body copy. So that all looks correct. And then I can go back to my outside flap and make sure these styles are correct. So here I have that plus sign next to main heading, so that I want to clear that by clicking on the clear override button. And then that gets rid of that. So I'm going to select this text here and then select the clear override button. And now that's going to override anything that varies from this body copy style. Okay, I'm going to go back to the inside spread. And now I'm going to create a custom text wrap. So y'all did this with the posters where you created clipping paths. Some of you created custom shapes. We're going to use a clipping path that was created in Photoshop this time by using an alpha channel that wraps around an image path. So first I'm going to go to File, Place, and select the image from my Australia links folder, and I'm going to select this Aussie map, and I want to show the import options here. So just click show import options, and then I can take a look at my options. So if I go to image, you can see that it has a Photoshop clipping path already. It's got an alpha channel that's transparent. So I'm going to select it knowing that there's that clipping path. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm just going to click somewhere on the right side to place it. And then I can use my selection tool, or the V is the shortcut for the selection tool. And I can use the numbers in the control panel to control where I want this image, where I want it to go on my spread. So up in the control panel, I want to use the upper left reference point, and I'm going to type in 5.8 for the X coordinate and 1.7 for the Y coordinate. So once I've typed those numbers in the control panel, now the map is where I want it. It's going to be kind of going off, bleeding off on the right side. Now I can go and manage the text wrap with the clipping path. So I want to select text wrap. So you should all know where that is now. And I'm going to, instead of wrapping, right now it's wrapping around this bounding box frame. I want it to wrap around the object shape. So if I select wrap around object shape, then I can choose down here, I can wrap, you can choose different options for the wrap, and then for the contour options, I'm going to select that alpha channel. So because that was already created in the Photoshop file, it's going to use that alpha channel that is the clipping path around this map of Australia. And then I can change the offset to 0.125 around the entire clipping path there. So now my text is wrapping around that path. And I can change the opacity. I can go to the properties panel and I'm going to change this opacity to 50% because we're going to put a pull quote on top of this graphic. And I'm going to move this. Now you can see that because I created that overset text frame, the text is being pushed by this graphic into that text frame. So I'm just going to move it over a little bit and we'll fix that in a little bit. Moving on to page 343, now I'm going to go to the layers panel and look at where my layers are. So my Aussie map is on the top layer, but I want to move it down. So I'm going to select that layer and I want to move it down below these 4 graphic rectangle frames. So I'm just going to drag it below this last rectangle. So now these rectangles are on top of that map graphic of Australia. Then I'm going to create a pull quote to put on top of this image. So then I can move to this overset text frame and use my type tool. So this last paragraph is a quote from Douglas Adams. So I am going to cut that text and then I'm going to paste it onto its own text frame. So I'm going to go to my type tool and create a text frame and then paste that text onto that into that frame. And then I'm going to select it. And then I'm going to put that frame on top of this image. So it's not going to show up because of the clipping path. So then I want to ignore the text wrap for that image. So, oh, and I'm sorry, I messed up again. So wait, before I do that, I need to follow the textbook numbers. So on page 343 in the textbook, I've already done that step. So actually page 344, actually in the textbook, it wants you to create a new frame with set dimensions. So I actually want to select 6.6 for the X coordinate, 3.125 for the Y coordinate, and the width should be 5 and the height should be 2.5 inches. So that's going to place it exactly this size over that map graphic. Okay, then once I've done that, then I can go to the ignore text wrap option. So I'm going to select this frame and then I'm going to hit Command B as in boy to bring up the text frame options and select ignore text wrap. So if you check off the preview, you'll see without that, you have that overset text icon and the text disappears. So if you select ignore text wrap, that brings your text back up. So it ignores the text wrap behind it. Then I'm going to select the text here with my type tool and I'm going to create a new style in the paragraph style. So I'm going to open up paragraph styles. Before I do that, I want to right align this text here. Hope that's center. So I want to right align. And then I'm going to create a new style, paragraph style here using the new style button under paragraph styles. So I'm going to hit option and then click on create new styles. That's going to open up this window pane, this new paragraph style option. And I'm just going to type in pull quote. So I'm going to create a style for this pull quote. And then I'm going to select apply style to selection. Then don't hit OK yet, but then I'm going to create some nested styles. So this is on page 345 and we have not used nested styles before. What we're going to do is we're going to nest some character styles inside of this paragraph style. So the first thing is we want to create a drop cap style. So I'm going to go to drop cap and nested styles in the left sidebar here. And then I can click on new nested style. And if you click on the arrow, it's going to show you the character styles. that we added from that other InDesign document. So I'm going to select quote opener, which is going to be in a drop cap kind of style. And then for the middle column, I'm going to select, I think I'm going to keep it at through one, and instead of words, I'm going to click on the arrow and select character. Oop, not letters, character. So what I want to do is I want to apply this quote opener character style through one character. So just through the first character. And if I move this over, you can see that it's already applying it because I want to apply the style to the selection. So then once I've done that, it's going to apply that quote opener style to the first character of this paragraph. Then I want to create another nested style. I'm going to click new nested style again, so I can select multiple nested styles. Then this time I'm going to select quote body. So for the body of this paragraph, I'm going to select this quote body character style. And then this time, instead of through, I want to select up to, and then I'm going to type in, instead of words, I'm going to type in actually a custom hyphen. So instead of a regular hyphen like the textbook says, I'm going to use the M dash, the longest hyphen. So I'm going to type in the M dash, holding down Shift, Option, and then hyphen. Then I'm going to create one more nested style, and this is going to be the quote author style. So I'm going to select quote author, and I'm going to select up to, and this time I'm going to select a tab character because I want the quote author. So this Douglas Adams name is going to be set to the quote author style. So anything after this M dash is going to be set to the quote author style because I'm saying it'll be apply quote author up to one tab character, and I'm never going to select the tab character in this paragraph. So anything after that M dash is going to be adopting the quote author style. Okay, then I'm going to click OK. And I need to make a change here. I'm going to change this dash to the M dash. And once I've done that, then it applies that quote author style to the name here. So if you go to character styles, you'll see the quote opener, quote body, and quote author styles there. So I'm going to put my cursor before the M dash, and I want to hit a soft return, shift return to bring the name down to the next line. If I don't hit a shift return and I just do a regular return, that text will disappear because it's going to start on a new paragraph. So if I do a soft return, I can keep my styles, my paragraph and text styles. I can also put a soft return before the word in to bring the word in down to the next line so it doesn't look awkward there. If I did a regular return, it's going to apply that quote opener style. So that's where the soft return helps. Doing a shift return, it won't adopt a new paragraph style. Then we're going to move on to page 349 because we've still got a problem here, right? So we've still got overset text here. And that's going to be resolved by using conditional text, which is one of the options you can do if you're not going to come into the print lab. Before we do that, though, we want to add some ellipses in between these packages. So we've got this package from New York here for this 14-night adventure. This is the price for that. So different packages for vacation trips. And so these are basically price lines. So what we want to do is add a series of ellipses in between the package name and the price. And that's something you might want to use for your table of contents in your booklet if you want to add ellipses in between the title of your chapter and the page number. So this might be helpful in learning how to do that. It's a little bit tricky, so make sure that you move your page so you can see the top of the page here in your view in InDesign. And then I'm going to switch to my type tool and put my cursor in the first paragraph after the packages from New York. And then I'm going to go to type show hidden characters first so you can see all the paragraph returns. So put your cursor in the first paragraph after packages from New York. So that first price line there. Then I'm going to open up my paragraph menu, and I want to change the space after value to 0. So space after here is set to 0.125. I want to get rid of that and just replace it with 0. So that gets rid of the space after that line. Then I want to select tab. So you can go to Type, Tab, to open up the tab panel, and it should place it right above this column here. So it's set to put it right above the column. That's why you need to make sure the top part of the panel is visible. Then you want to choose the Align to Decimal tab marker. Okay, so that's this one that has a down arrow with a dot on the top. So select the Align to Decimal marker, and then select, just click somewhere above the ruler to add a stop. So click anywhere on the ruler, and then it'll add this down arrow. That's just placing a marker on there. Then you can change that placement of that coordinate. So instead of whatever number is up here, I'm going to replace it with 3.125 and hit return. And then under leader, I'm going to type in a period because I want to fill it in with a period. And then after I hit return, it's going to fill in the entire space with the period or the ellipses. And I think you're supposed to type in a period and space, but either way is going to work. So there you go. So period and space looks like that. It's just a little more opened up. So then I can select this. And so that's a little bit complicated. There's a multiple steps. So instead of doing that every line for these price lines, I can create a style so that I don't have to recreate that for every line. So with my cursor still in that first line where I added those ellipses, I'm going to go back to paragraph styles and add a new style. So I'm going to hold down the option key and click create new style. And I'm going to call this style price line. So this is the price line style. I want to apply the style to the selection. And then I'm going to click OK. Then if I select these next few lines with the price line, I can select this price line style. And then it's automatically added that style to the other price line. So I don't have to go through all those steps again. Then select this last paragraph here, oops, where it says prices include the bread and breakfast accommodations. I'm going to select the disclaimer copy in my paragraph styles. And then I'm going to switch to my selection tool. And I can get rid of this tabs panel now. I don't need it anymore. And you can see that this packages from Los Angeles is wrapping around weirdly around the Australia map. So I don't need that. So I'm just going to make my column text frame here smaller. So that overset text is going to jump into my overset text frame. So at this point, you would go to the conditional text. If you do the next step on page 351, that's the optional activities that for if you are not coming into the print lab, you will want to do the variations with conditional text. And what that does is you're going to create a New York package version of the brochure. Then you're going to create a version for packages from Los Angeles. So you might have vacationers or clients coming from New York that you would give them one version of the brochure. Then for your LA clients, you would give them another version. So if you go through all of those steps, then you'll end up with two versions. You'll have this version with the LA West Coast brochure, and then you'll have another version with the New York brochure. So be sure that you do those steps and have include both of these versions when you turn it in. So you can get 2 points. You'll get 1 point for each version. So follow the steps on starting on page 351 to create variations with conditional text if you're not coming in to the print and trim lab. So if we go back to the grade sheet for the brochure, you'll see you get 2 points for the conditional text, or you can come in and do the trimming and folding in place of that. All right, I know I said this was a lot to cover, so we've still got a little more to go. So if we're going to skip the conditional text, you can do that on your own for those of you who are doing that. Then we're going to go right to page 353 and do paragraph shading. So for what I'm doing, if you are coming into the print lab, you only need to do, you can choose if you want to do New York or LA version. So I'm just going to do the New York one. And then I don't need this LA text, so I could just delete that if I want to. But I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to hide my guidelines so you can see. I want these subheadings to stand out more, so they don't stand out enough. So what I want to do, I'm going to add some color, I'm going to add some paragraph shading. So I'm going to turn my guidelines back on just so you can see. And then I'm going to go to my paragraph styles. And I'm going to double click the subheading style. And I'm going to add that paragraph shading here. So I'm going to click on paragraph shading on the left and then select shading. And then I can select a color for my shading. And because I have preview on, you can see it's adding the black shading, but I don't want black. So I'm going to select this blue color, but I'm going to tint it to 15%. Okay, so now you can see the shading behind those subheadings. So that might be something you want to use on your personal brochures. Now the text is not centered in that shading. So I want to fix that by going to the offset, and I'm going to move my text down a little bit so that it is centered. So I'm just going to type in 0.04 for my offset and hit tab. And that's going to, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to actually, I meant to do just the bottom because I need to unlink. So I'm going to get rid of the top, left, and right. And I only want the offset on the bottom. Oh, that's not right either. Oh, it's the top one. So I'm going to type in 0.04 for the top and then change the other ones to 0. So now it looks centered and I can click OK. And then I can turn off my guidelines to see my text is now centered in the blue color. All right, we're almost done here. Now we got to add some photos into these frames, right? So I'm going to turn my guidelines back on, and then I want to select the photos I want to place into these frames. So go to File, Place, and I'm going to select the photos from my links folder, and I want to select them in the correct order so that I can place them in the same order. So I can do that by holding down the Command key, and I'm going to select cave, then clownfish, then koala, and lastly, Opera House. I don't need to show import options. I'm going to open. They're now loaded on my cursor, and I can go from left to right and click right in the center of the X to place them inside those graphic frames. So that's looking pretty good. However, I'm missing one thing here, and that's captions. So I need to add some captions. Captions really help to bring more to the story, to explain, especially for the tourists, the clients, so they know what's going on in these photos. Where are these photos taken? Because they want to know. They want to know where they can go to see what's being pictured there. So it's really helpful for a promotional brochure. What we're going to do is we're going to add the titles of these images and make them captions. So I'm going to click on this left image to select it, and then open up the links panel, and then you can see that there is information with a title attached to this image. So I'm going to use that for my caption, and I've already got a caption style in my paragraph styles. There's already a caption style created here. So I'm going to go to Object, Captions, and then go to Generate Live Caption. Oh, before I do that, let me go to Caption Setup. And this is on page 355 in the textbook. So I want to select under the metadata, the title here. So I can select title. Let me see where title is. I think I have to scroll down. So I'm going to select title. That's going to be my caption. I'm going to use the title from the metadata. And then I'm going to select, I want to group this caption with the image. So it's going to automatically group the text caption with the image. And under paragraph style, I want to select the caption style that was already created. And I'm going to line the caption below the image with this default offset. Then I'm going to click OK. Now the caption's still not showing up. I just set it up. Now I have to generate it. So I'm going to go to Object, Caption again, and now Generate Live Caption. And now it's going to generate that caption. It's going to use the title of the image. So I can do that for all of these. I can select these other images and go to Object, Caption, Generate Live Caption. And then what I noticed for this clownfish one, it says there's no data from the link. So there was no title that came with this image. I could go in manually with my type tool and just type something in. Or I could change the image. In this case, for the textbook, I'm going to change this image to another image that has a caption or has a title associated with it. So I'm going to select the image and go to File, Place, and I'm going to select this barrier reef image. And I want to replace the selected item. So I'm going to replace what's currently in the graphic frame with this barrier reef image, click open, and now it's automatically updated with the new title, which is now the caption. So then when we're done with that, we are ready to export this. I'm going to turn off the guidelines and we can review. Here's the outside spread, the inside spread. Remember, we have the dash lines for the fold marks. First, we got to package it, right? So I'm going to first package this. I have to save it before I package it. I'm going to save it onto my desktop. Just like before, you package it and then you compress it into a zip folder and submit it into the InDesign section. So it's creating the IDML file so I can open it up in a previous version of InDesign. Sorry, y'all, for the interest of time, I'm gonna, oh, I think it was just creating it when I canceled it, but I think y'all know how to package, right? Everybody knows, you should know how to package at this point and then compress it, right? So I'm gonna also show you how to export it. You don't, if you're doing the conditional text for the LA version, right, the East Coast and West Coast version, then you would need to export to both separate versions. So I would go to Adobe PDF presets again. I'm going to go to press quality just for the highest quality. I'm on my desktop here just so I can find it easily. And then I'm just going to export the East Coast version here for New York. When you export it, make sure you select spreads. If you don't, it's not going to print correctly. This goes for your personal files as well. So your personal brochures, whatever you're printing, make sure you select spreads or it's going to generate each panel separately and you won't be able to print it and fold it into a brochure. So very important, you select spreads here. Then marks and bleeds, I'm going to select my crop marks. I don't need bleed marks this time, but I do need my document bleed settings. Under output, I'm going to select the US sheet fed coded this time because we're going to the coded paper this time. And then under advanced, I can switch to Acrobat 4 and go to high resolution for maximum quality for the transparency effects. And then when I export that, I should be able to view it as spreads and it will be press ready. So be ready to print from. Let me look at the New York version here. You can see that once you export it, it'll show the crop marks and a little bit of the dashed lines for your fold marks. And that's all you need is just a little bit so that you can put your ruler over those marks and fold it in the exact places where it needs to be folded. So make sure you include those fold marks. And remember, the fold marks do not need to go down all the way across the page. You don't want them viewable on the printed page, but just they need to be with the crop marks so you can use them as marks for trimming. So make sure you check your PDF file before you turn it in so that they are exported as spreads. So you'll want to do that for your personal brochure, whatever it is that you're going to print from. Make sure you select your crop marks, your bleed margin, and select spreads so that you've got the marks to fold and trim.